Hey, do you or someone you know work on an exciting sustainable solution that needs scaling? Why not apply to the Zayed Sustainability Prize and increase your reach and impact? The Zayed Sustainability Prize was established in 2008 as the United Arab Emirates Pioneering Global Award for recognizing organizations and high schools for their sustainable, innovative, and humanitarian solutions.
How will you feel if you win the prize?
Oh, very happy.
Today, the prize counts 15 years of global impact, with 378 million people around the world benefiting from its winner solutions across the 5 categories of health, food, energy, water, and global high schools. Now, they're adding an exciting 6th category called climate action. This special new category aims to recognize and promote innovative solutions that address climate change and protect the planet for future generations. If you know a deserving small to medium-sized enterprise or nonprofit organization that's working to promote climate adaptation and resilience and nature-based solutions, nominate them today for the Climate Action category. We're pleased that the Zayed Sustainability Prize will be sponsoring this podcast series. To learn more about the prize, visit zayedsustainabilityprize.com and submit your application before the new extended deadline of May 23rd, 2023. You may have heard about the environmental impacts and the challenging ethical questions associated with eating meat and animal-based products. These are important considerations, but it was ultimately for health reasons that Toni Okamoto started her brand, Plant-Based on a Budget. With her open and non-judgmental approach, Toni is quickly becoming a leading plant-based influencer on social media and a successful author with multiple vegan cookbooks. In today's episode, we discuss Toni's latest cookbook, Plant-Based on a Budget, Quick and Easy, which is the follow-up to her original Plant-Based on a Budget book. It features 100 fast, healthy, meal prep, freezer-friendly, and one-pot vegan recipes that are perfect for anyone who doesn't have much time or budget for healthy, plant-based eating. This episode features Toni Okamoto, founder of Plant-Based on a Budget and vegan influencer and author, as part of our Women in Sustainability series. Hey, Toni, thanks very much for joining the Sustainability Champions podcast. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat today.
Well, I'm excited to learn more about plant-based diets and, of course, your new cookbook called Plant-Based on a Budget, Quick and Easy. So the way I like to start these conversations is by going a bit high picture or big picture, high overview, and starting from there and then digging down a little bit. So can we just start with what exactly is a plant-based diet?
It really depends on who you ask. There are varying opinions, but I think it's anything that came from a plant. Some people on one spectrum will say that it's eating about 85-90% plants and some meat. So I do know people who call themselves plant-based and eat a little bit of meat. And then I have other people on this spectrum who say that it is beyond only plants, but also no oil, no sugar, no salt. And it's a very low processed diet. And it's also one that is for optimal health. And it's often people who are trying to reverse their type 2 diabetes, reverse their heart disease, and they are more strict. But again, my perspective is if it came from a plant, it's plant-based.
Sounds good. And your cookbook is using that perspective and creating recipes that are related to that way.
Exactly.
That sounds good. And so, I mean, this is a sustainability podcast, so it's worth asking, what are the I like to start with talking about the challenges so we know how we're sort of solving the issues with the plant-based diet. So what are some of the challenges with, I suppose, a conventional diet, which would include not plant-based items?
Well, the amount of land space used to grow feed for livestock is massive. And that is a great place to start if you think about the ways that we are destroying the rainforests, using up a massive amount of water. It is shocking. And we could instead be growing food for humans in that space if we were going to use it, and cut out the middle species, which is eating the food that we are going to eat to feed us. So that is the one that is right in our faces.
Yeah, and I mean, it is interesting. I've seen a lot about what is happening in the Amazon, for instance. There are two real culprits in terms of the destruction of the Amazon, and both are agriculture based. One is soy, and that's because, well, first of all, there is a high demand by people for soy, for soybean oil, tofu. There's a lot. Soy is used in so many different ways, and then of course soy for feed. So that's the two ways, and then the other reason that the Amazon is being destroyed is by cattle ranchers growing beef basically and cutting down huge swaths of the Amazon for beef production. And I think the my understanding is the biggest challenge is that eventually, because rainforest soil is actually not that fertile. Part of the reason why it's so productive is because there's a lot of water and it just sort of keeps the cycle going. But as soon as you remove the trees, the soil kind of dries out and it's not that productive. So ranchers and farmers need to continually move into new land and keep cutting trees down. So it's sort of this endless cycle of constant moving and cutting the trees down. And there's not very many people who are replanting and restoring what was cut down in the past. And that's how we're losing the Amazon. So I think it's a very important point that you're making there.
I usually start off really high. People can't see me right now, but I was beginning this conversation upright, and the more heavy the information, the more I physically feel weighed down. It is such heavy stuff.
Yeah. And actually, now that you pointed out, I see that you're sitting. So, well, I guess that comes back to our point of, so that's one of the major challenges with the conventional diet, and what you're talking about from an environmental standpoint is to avoid meat, cut out that middle species, as you call it, and move on to basically going direct to the going to the plants. So what about the health associations? You mentioned that there are on that spectrum where people cutting out oil and salt and everything, they do it for health, but I imagine that there is a lot of health benefits associated with the plant-based diet as well.
Yes, I have had the privilege of chatting with some of the brightest people about the benefits to our gut health, to our brain health, to our heart health, and they are stunning statistics when you're looking clearly at them. And one of the things that I think about all the time is how before I became plant-based, I thought that eating a vegan diet, vegetarian diet even, would be very restrictive. But for me, it's been the opposite. It has been one of abundance, and I have tried so many different types of cuisines, international cuisines, that I didn't even know existed before. And I was living in a very small food bubble, and it opened dramatically when I started looking for the diversity of plants. And that has definitely helped with my gut health and with my physical fitness. That's actually how I got started down this path, was because I was an athlete trying to feel better physically. And I felt the immediate benefits. I began to thrive as an athlete and heal faster.
So you actually noticed being able to heal faster and recover more quickly just by changing to a plant-based diet?
Yes, I did, and I had never considered excuse me. I had never considered how the food I was eating impacted my physical wellness. It was all about how it tasted and how it made me full when I was hungry. And when my coach realized that I was feeling ill after practice and he said, "What are you eating?" I thought, that's a silly question. That's a very strange thing to ask me. And it was because it directly impacts me. If I'm not eating any vegetables, it's not going to do well for my body.
Mhm.
And I did immediately feel better and stop feeling sick to my stomach after track practices.
Amazing. And have you heard of others experiencing a similar thing?
Absolutely. If you watch a documentary on Netflix called The Game Changers, they profile every major vegan athlete and they share their stories as well.
Yeah, I actually did watch it, and I was this was a few years ago, and I was fascinated by some of the athletes and what they're able to achieve, and how quickly it changed. And yeah, it seems like it doesn't take very much for your body to adapt to a plant-based diet in order to actually make it like to start seeing the benefits of it.
I actually did an experiment. I worked with a friend of mine named Michelle Kane, as well as Dr. Michael Greger, who wrote a popular book called How Not to Die. And basically, I put an ad on Craigslist and I said, I will help guide you through a plant-based challenge for 7 days. We'll buy all your food. We will get your blood tested beforehand and after the 7 days. And then we'll have a doctor work with you to see how it changed. And in 7 days alone, we had this wonderful man lose 7 pounds. He went from being pre-diabetic to in the clear. His LDL cholesterol fell dramatically, I think in half. And it was only 7 days. And so if you are eating a cleaner, more whole foods, plant-based diet, you can see the benefits pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think one of the challenges, and you mentioned it, that you said it that originally you thought plant-based would be very restrictive. I think the important thing is, just like with any diet or any lifestyle, it's important to have balance, right? Because just because you're going plant-based, I mean, I've seen some of the there's like vegetarian or vegan snacks, and they're still junk food. They just happen to not have any animal products in it. So it's important to make sure that the diet is still whole and balanced, and you're getting protein and fiber and enough fat and everything, so that you actually do feel full and you're getting all of the nutrients that you need. How does that factor into your daily decisions when it comes to meal planning and thinking about what to snack on, etc.?
I have this broken down in the Plant-Based on a Budget Quick and Easy cookbook a little bit. And I talk about it in terms of bowls, which is what I rely on mostly for my meals. It's so easy to make sure I have a protein, a grain, vegetables, which I try to diversify so that I'm building a strong gut microbiome, and then I cover that in a delicious sauce because everything's better with the sauce.
So
And
true.
it makes sure that I am getting that diversity that my body needs. And it also inspires me to think outside of the box for different proteins. So instead of relying on, we'll say, tofu, which you mentioned earlier, you can do lentils or beans or split peas or quinoa, or there's so many different types of things. And when you're putting a little bit of thought and effort, you can make sure that you are trying different ingredients and not relying on the same few things. And I know that I even fall into the trap of, I like broccoli, carrots, celery, onions, garlic, and those are always in my refrigerator. But I have to think beyond that at the grocery store and make sure I'm trying, okay, here's the purple cabbage. I'm going to throw that in the cart this week. I'm going to try some romaine lettuce and some green curly kale, and make sure that I'm moving beyond the things that I'm comfortable with so that I am getting different types of nutrients on a regular basis.
Yeah, and I think that's important. And also it just means that you don't, just like with anything, when you want to be healthy, you don't want to get burned out by eating the exact same thing every single time. It gets exhausting and you sort of lose the will to continue.
So true.
You mentioned gut health and gut microbiome, those two terms a couple of times now. So what is gut health or the microbiome, and why is it so important to be mindful of it?
I read this book called Fiber Fueled by Dr. Will Bolsowitz, and it is so good. It helped me understand why it's important to be kinder to our guts. And I know that a lot of people have suffered from digestion issues and don't really link it to how we're eating. I know
Hmm.
something I hear, and this might be TMI, but I get a lot of TMI emails all the time from people who are like, I just started eating plants or more plant-based, and I'm going to the bathroom every day. And I'm like, what do you mean every day? Weren't you going to the bathroom every day before? Or number two, every day? And it's new to people to go once or even twice. And sometimes if they're eating a really whole foods plant-based diet, going 3 times a day, people are comfortable or used to living in constipation. And
Hmm.
it it's it's very interesting when you learn about how eating a fibrous diet will change how you feel physically.
Yeah, it's very true, and that was actually my experience. The challenge for me with going plant-based was I started to get very intense stomach aches, actually. I don't know what I was doing, but I thought I was eating a relatively whole plant-based diet, and um, I would wake up in the morning with like pain in my stomach. So maybe I have some allergies to some of the grains I was eating, or perhaps
Mm.
I was going a little too hard on the fiber and needed to reel that back in a little bit. Yeah,
Also,
I don't know.
sometimes people who are not used to eating a lot of legumes, especially
Hmm.
beans, especially if you're cooking them from scratch and not soaking them, uh, sometimes that pain, like sharper pain, can be gas. And that's another thing that I hear about all the time from people who are starting to incorporate more beans into their diets. And there are some ways around it. Like I mentioned, if you are cooking them from scratch, soak them first.
Yeah, the soaking part is crucial because I believe there's a protein in there that's not very good for you, and soaking it uh, does it remove the protein or like breaks it down? I don't remember the details.
I don't know.
I don't know either. But I'd love to talk more about the new cookbook that you've been working on. You mentioned before we started talking, or before the recording, that you've been working on it for a couple of years, and this has been a big part of your life for the past time. So, can you talk a little bit about the new book, Plant Based on a Budget, Quick and Easy?
I have I've had plant-based on a budget, the brand, for 11 years now.
Oh
It's
wow.
been a big chunk of my life. And it's not only because I am passionate about plant-based eating, but I also was on a budget for a really long time, living paycheck to paycheck, living in a massive amount of debt. And I still wanted to eat plant-based and I wanted to feel good. So I found ways to make that work for me. Meanwhile, a lot of people in my family were really suffering from heavy diet related issues that were devastating to
Hmm.
us. And I'm talking about amputations, death, heart
Wow.
attacks, um, dying from type 2 diabetes, and complications in a triple bypass surgery. And one thing I heard over and over and over again was that it's just too expensive to eat healthy. And so that was really the inspiration behind Plant Based on a Budget. And I have worked with literally millions of people over the past 11 years. They come to my website, they talk to me and share their stories on social media. And I've been able to take my experience, my family's experience, the pain points that I hear often from my community, and put them in this comprehensive resource that is my new book. And I'm really proud of how it turned out. I worked with 100 recipe testers from diverse backgrounds, making sure that even if you eat meat and you love fast food, that you're still going to like my recipes. Even if you have never cooked in your whole life, you'll still be able to make these recipes. If you only have Walmart or Dollar Tree store, you can still buy these ingredients. I just wanted to make it really accessible.
That's amazing. And what's been the feedback so far, considering how tailored it is and how much research and thought you put into it?
I am very proud to say that it was literally the best-selling cookbook in the country the week it came out.
Amazing.
And it's got really good reviews so far, which makes me happy. And it also makes me feel like the recipe testing process, which is brutal, was worth it, because now that people are investing their hard-earned money into the book and into the ingredients, and in front of their family who may be skeptical about plant-based eating, they're having a positive experience and not having that all go to waste.
That's amazing. When you say that it's brutal, this recipe testing, what exactly goes into it? And I mean, how does that work?
Well, it's tough in a lot of ways. One, having people who are very busy, who have families, commit and then follow through on recipe testing is a challenge. And so I had someone I work with on my team. Her name is Tina. She managed this project, and the process would basically be, I would develop a recipe. It would go to 5 recipe testers. It would then come back to me. And if it needed more recipe testing, it would go back to different people who would give me feedback. And I was asking questions like, how much did it cost? How long did it take you? Where did you shop? Was it easy? Did your family like it? And would take that feedback and either incorporate it, tweak my recipe, or add their feedback directly with credit to them in the book. So if you look at the book, you'll see recipe testers from all over the world and their feedback. And then the harshest part about it is that not everyone likes your recipes, and sometimes can be very candid. Like, for example, when my mother-in-law told me that one of my recipes was so inedible that she couldn't even give it to her dog, that she had to throw it into the backyard so the insects could eat it.
That's pretty harsh.
That's a little bit harsh. And you know what? I'm really grateful, because with her, I love her, and I know that she has my best interest at heart, and just wanted to emphasize that this cannot go into my book, and I would rather read it in a private email than in an Amazon review later.
That's a very good point. Yeah, that would be much more heartbreaking on Amazon. But that sounds intense. But I guess, like you said, it's worth it, because if you don't put yourself out there like that and actually do all that testing, then there's no real way to know where your recipes stand, and you don't really have a chance to tweak and to make adjustments and really get it to a place where you're confident in it. So what kind of, for anyone who has the book, what kind of recipes can we expect in terms of, you said there's 100 of them. So what kind of dishes are there? What kind of cuisines? Yeah, what can we expect?
The chapters are broken up into breakfasts, one-pot meals, sheet pans and casseroles, meals under 30 minutes, bowls, and desserts.
Amazing. So yeah, makes it easy, so kind of you have a clear understanding of where to go depending on how much time and what you're in the mood for. And does it span a wide range of like cuisines in terms of countries, or like do you have like Mexican food, Chinese food, Japanese food, etc.? Or yeah, how did you do that part?
Well, I'm Japanese and Mexican, and my food is culturally Mexican because I grew up culturally Mexican. And so I have some of my childhood favorites made plant-based, but the others are more customizable, versatile dishes. And the way I write my recipes is that there is usually a very short main ingredient list of 7 or 8 ingredients or less. And then there is this long list of optional swaps or additions that are going to enhance the meal if you have the budget or if you have these things on hand already. Then I have different tips. They're called Toni's tips. So if you have a pressure cooker or if you have an air fryer, this is how you can change it up to do it in your air fryer or your pressure cooker. And with pressure cooker, it takes your cook time down from, if you're doing a chili on the stovetop for 30 minutes, it would take it down to 3 to 5 minutes. So it's a dramatic change that I love my pressure cooker. And for those who are like me, they can bring the time down very, 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 very much. And then the last thing that's really special is that I want people to make my recipes suitable for them and their families. So I leave blank lines so that you could write in how you changed it. And that's how I learned how to cook. I want people to play with their food. I feel like it's also more sustainable to use what you have on hand already than go and buy extra food and then have that food that you already have go to waste. So those were things that were really important to me. And the last thing is that I tried to incorporate food storage tips throughout the whole book, both for produce when you're buying it, and then also for once you cook the meal, how to store it in your refrigerator and also how to store it in your freezer so that it's not going to waste.
That's really clever. I like all of those ideas because, or all of those additions because, yeah, sometimes you're reading a recipe and you think, I don't like cilantro, and now like, what do you do? Or for instance, I really like cilantro and this one doesn't have it. And you start to kind of play with it. And it sounds like your recipes are sort of designed to be tailored and tweaked to your personal preferences rather than saying, this is how the recipe is done. And if you deviate, then you may as well not try it at all.
Yes, I'm saying deviate. Let's do this. Add whatever. I love seeing pictures. If you go to the Amazon reviews, the Amazon review section of this book, there's one person who every time she makes a recipe, I think she's over 20 recipes in, she adds a picture to the review and modifies her review and has this in progress review. And so I love seeing how I can identify which recipe it is, but it doesn't look exactly like mine. And she has changed it up and has drawn inspiration from that original recipe. And that is exactly what I want for people.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I first of all, really, it must be really cool to see someone interacting so much and spending so much time. I mean, that, you spent a really long time and obviously a lot of effort and resources went into this book. And now to see someone taking it so seriously and getting involved must feel very rewarding.
It really, really is. With my last book, Plant Based on a Budget, this is a follow-up, Plant Based on a Budget, Quick and Easy. But with the first one, someone cooked literally 100 of the recipes, like all 100% of the 100 recipes, and emailed me all the time her feedback. And I just thought, wow, this is so cool. What a special way to be part of someone's life.
Absolutely. I mean, you're actually literally influencing what they're eating and how they feel as a result of it, which is so cool. And I think to your point, what's wonderful about the fact that you're encouraging people to modify and to deviate from the recipes is you're actually telling people to stick with it. I think one of the challenges of, changing your lifestyle or following cookbooks is that after a while you get sort of tired of being told what to do and you sometimes just want to do it your own way. And what you're saying with your cookbook, and it sounds like this is kind of your philosophy in general, is as long as you're sort of in this sphere, do it your own way and make it work for you. And your cookbook is showing there's a lot of different ways to make these dishes. There's a lot of different ingredients to add or to subtract, whatever you want. As long as you're going in the direction of plant-based, it's great. That's kind of what I'm getting, what I'm hearing.
You have got it right. And I believe it's a big reason why 65% of my audience, which I have polled, eat meat and are trying to lessen it. And
Mm.
I have been a good resource because I provide the flexibility and the safe space for people to explore plant-based. I'm really on message usually about saving money and eating plant-based, and I don't talk a lot about the other benefits. And I sometimes will say, but check this out, or check out this organization or this documentary. Uh, However, on my space, I can make sure that people who are just tipping their toe in this, maybe they just watched Game Changers today, 5 minutes ago, they are like, I'm on the fence. Let me see what recipes are available. They have a good first touch point because I am going to be chill with them and meet them where they are and support them how I can.
What was the moment you realized this was the work that you wanted to do? You mentioned that you were on the track team and you weren't feeling well. Was that really the moment when you thought, okay, time for me to really lean into plant-based diets and start the plant-based on a budget brand? Or was there another moment when you thought, this is it, I want to get started?
It was much later. My progression into plant-based eating was slow and gradual. So I had that initial experience when I was 16, but it wasn't until I was 20 that I started learning more about the environmental and animal ethics portions of eating a vegan diet. And so I had been in an intro to ethics course and I needed extra credit. And one of the ways to get extra credit was during the third of her course, which was related to animal ethics, was to go to the vegetarian club. So I went to the vegetarian club, met some awesome people who faced a lot of the similar obstacles that I faced. Like they didn't have a lot of money, they didn't have a well-stocked kitchen, they were deeply rooted in their cultural foods. And they were also interested in being vegan. And so I met my people. I got really interested. We visited animal sanctuaries. I learned about the environmental impacts, and I felt like this is where I need to be. And then starting around that time in my early 20s, I got my first job working at a nonprofit helping animals and have been very fortunate to spend my whole adult life in this space helping people eat plant-based.
Fantastic. And what's next for you now that the all this hard work has culminated into a book and you're seeing its great success? Are you planning another book? Are you going to take it easy and or have you not even thought about it yet?
I'm still recovering. My book came out 1 month ago and it was a whirlwind. I was not prepared for that. And I'm grateful. I'm extremely grateful for the response. It's been amazing. But also I feel as I age, travel is harder, being away from home is harder. And the week of, I traveled to 7 states in 7 days. And I was so tired. I had red eyes. I slept on sofas, and it was just hard on my body. And I still feel like I'm recovering. And what's next? I'm not sure. I'm still loving promoting my book and grateful to be here chatting with you today. And that's as far as I've gotten.
And I think that's absolutely fair. And yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of work to do with promoting, and of course with recovering after promoting. It's certainly a lot of work. And I've heard at least that writing the book and publishing it is almost like only half the journey, and then actually doing all the work associated with promoting it, having conversations like this, the rest of it is it's a whole journey in and of itself.
That is true. That is very true.
Yeah, well, Tony, thank you so much for taking the time and going through this with me. I love your approach to the plant-based diet. I love how to your point, this book is focused on making it quick and easy, which I think is really important in today's super busy society, and with everyone working from home, sometimes it's hard to step away from your computer, and you feel kind of overwhelmed with nonstop everything, which is probably why a lot of people like to order food delivery, because it just it takes away the sort of guesswork. But with your book and your approach, it sounds like it's very easy. And especially if you have a pressure cooker, then it can't be, you'll certainly beat being able to, it'll be faster to cook at home than to order delivery. So yeah, I really appreciate your time and for sharing all this with me. And for anyone who wants to learn more about you, about your brand Plant Based on a Budget, or even purchase the book, where is the best place to go?
You can find me on Instagram at Plant Based on a Budget, and my book is called Plant Based on a Budget, Quick and Easy, and my website is plantbasedonabudget.com.
Perfect. Very easy, very consistent. And you said it's on Amazon, the book.
Yes, anywhere books are sold.
Amazing. All right, Toni. Well, thank you again very much for your time. It was great to chat with you, and best of luck with promoting it and whatever next steps you choose to take.
Thank you so much for having me on today.
If you too are working on an exciting sustainable solution or innovation and are looking for funding, why not apply to the Zayed Sustainability Prize? This could help you get to the next level. The Zayed Sustainability Prize is the sponsor of this podcast series. Since 2008, they've recognized and funded the amazing and innovative work of nonprofit organizations, small and medium-sized enterprises, and high schools for their impactful, innovative, and inspiring sustainable solutions. You could be next. If you or someone you know is a champion in sustainability who's working on a solution in health, food, energy, water, or climate action, you can apply today. Small and medium enterprises and nonprofit organizations with sustainable solutions in health, food, energy, water, and climate action can win $600,000, while high schools can apply to the Global High Schools category and win up to $100,000. Apply before May 23rd, 2023. How to apply? Simply click the link in our show notes to begin your submission for the Zayed Sustainability Prize. If you want to connect with a member of the Zayed Sustainability Prize team, simply email them at info@zayedsustainabilityprize.com.